Hey folks, what's going on? CLG here. So if any of you are following my 1950s Radio Amateurs Handbook series that I'm trying to stay focused on, I mentioned in the past videos that I was going to be making notes on Chapter 2, and I'm doing that now. I just wanted to show you how I'm doing it. And I'm making these videos so I can keep myself motivated to not procrastinate too long and take too much time between putting together the next series or the next video. So as I go through Chapter 2 again in review, I'm trying to find things that from past experience that I know I need to maybe grab onto and make a few notes on. And to me, there are important things that build later on, just from way back when. So, you know, we're just starting here. So when I got to waveforms, there's a few things that I started to take notes on. And this is based on what I think are important little things to be highlighted. Let me show you how I did it. So if we look at the main book here, the main body of work here, I've made these first two notes and I'm labeling them Chapter 2, what page they're from, and what they are. So I'm going to just take a look at, these are a few things that I found, and this might be a trend that I follow, I'm not sure. But if I go back into, let's kind of zoom back out a little bit. Okay, let's go back to Chapter 2. This book is laid out well, but I'm trying to organize it better so I can comprehend certain theories and ideas about electronics that eluded me before. And this is just another way for me to be able to grasp and hold on to information. So I'm just going to go down to it as an example. So as an example, when I got to waveforms right here, there were two parts that I found interesting, and this was the whole calculating all this time constant, I think that's time, the cycle, and what all this means. And I just found a couple of things. So I basically cut and pasted a few things. Let me go back. So in Chapter 19, basically made a document with two columns, and I might highlight some areas here. So this was taken from another page, but they referred back to this one. And this, for instance, this one they're talking about fundamental frequency and harmonics, kind of explaining what that is. I thought this was a good one to highlight and make a note on. Basically, I'm not doing new notes, I'm just cutting and pasting things out of the book and trying to put them together. But the reason why, as an example, I chose this is because they're saying in here, where was it? Let me try to zoom in and see if I can get this. Figure 2.2. So 2.2, this bottom one, they were talking about, harmonics. And they also talk about first, second, and third harmonics. And they also talked about how if you change the amplitude, you can also, I guess, resonate on which harmonic or add more. Like the more amplitude, the more harmonics you can create, I think is what I'm reading here. And they say that right here. So I'm going to highlight that area. So I thought that was interesting because if you crank up the amplitude, which I guess would be the voltage, you can get more harmonics on the signal. I don't know, it's probably not that simple, but that's kind of one thing I thought was important to keep. And then also in Chapter 20, this is where they kind of went back a page, but they explained this part of Figure 2.1c, and you talk about RMS, root mean square. That's a mathematical function that I'm going to look up to and maybe put some more notes down here what RMS is, and you know, just where that comes from, because those are things that when I was learning this, I was really young and I didn't really, you know, it's like, what in the hell are they talking about? Root mean square. And later on in years, I kind of learned that in a math class. I think I gotta do some research. So it's basically just taking their notes, organizing them. I mean, cut and pasting parts of the book, organizing them, and maybe doing some referencing back to some mathematical functions that this is all built on, just so it can be understood. as thoroughly as is needed, maybe. I don't know. So if you like the series in the 1950 Radio Amateur's Handbook, I'm going to do the best I can at explaining it from my point of view, which is looking at this like I don't know anything, and trying to slowly comprehend some of this theory so it makes sense. And we're going to go through the whole book. It might take years, but I feel that this 1950s Radio Amateur Handbook is a really good resource to go through completely. That's the goal here. Thanks for watching, folks, and stay tuned. More to come on this one.